Okay, I'm gonna say one thing before I start this review. When you go to the movies, don't talk. You're there to watch the movie, you're not there to converse. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you're an expert on the subject matter, but I don't need to hear your commentary a couple seats down. Because when I went to go see this movie, I had that problem. I was very excited to see Ghost in the Shell, and just a row back from me and a few seats down, there's this guy and his friend, and the one guy who just wouldn't shut up and kept talking about things that were happening on the screen and stuff how it related to the original film and what was going on with the story. It's like, okay, I understand that you know what you're talking about, but I don't need to hear you. I go to the movies to escape to a whole different world for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, wherever the runtime of the movie is. I don't need to hear your commentary. Shut up. Halfway through the movie, I'm like, okay, I gotta tell this guy to be quiet. I could have said something really smug, but I didn't. I went up to him and said, like, hey man, I appreciate it if you stop talking throughout the movie. He ended up being respectful and didn't say a word the rest of the film. Okay, so when you're talking during the movie, I'm no longer focused on the movie. I'm focused on how much I want to turn you into a fiery blaze. Moving on to the review. Ghost in the Shell, directed by Rupert Sanders, starring Scarlett Johansson. This is an adaptation of a Japanese anime and of the original 1995 anime film. I became familiar with Ghost in the Shell just a few years ago. I knew of it, but I didn't really know it. The only way that I've been exposed to Ghost in the Shell is the 95 anime film, and I absolutely love it. It has a really complex story. The visuals are absolutely amazing in it. I'm not going to go too much into that film because that can be a review on itself. I don't have a nostalgia towards it, but I do appreciate the film so much. Directed by Mamoru Oshii. It's phenomenal. It's a great movie. It stars Scarlett Johansson as the Major. She is essentially a robot with a human brain inside of her head. What the main plot of the story is that she is now weaponized. She is a part of this task force where they go and stop cyber terrorists. Kuze is the main bad guy of this film, as it's built up to be. He is one that's hacking into other people's technology. We're at this point in the future where people are now being enhanced by technology. What Kuze is doing is he's now hacking into those technologies to control people and actually perform crimes to actually take out this larger company that we learn about in the film. What I want to say first is that this movie looks absolutely amazing. It looks like it's pulled straight from the anime because there was one scene in the movie that opened up the film that I was completely sold how the movie was set up and how it looked. It's when Major is standing on top of a building and she's looking over the sea ready to do the first kind of action scene. I'm like, holy crap, that looks ridiculously awesome, and I appreciate how they set up this world. This looks just like the Ghost in the Shell anime. What I want to say about the music is that it is amazing. Even though you didn't get the original score that was in the original 95 anime, I really enjoyed it. It was really beautifully done. There were some moments to where it kind of throws back a little bit to the original movie and the original score with those little bells that you hear are in the opening intro to the original film. So that was a nice little thing that they were able to throw in. There's a big controversy on this film that it is being whitewashed for an American audience. I didn't see it that way because the thing is with screenwriters, I don't think that they really had an idea of who they wanted to play the Major, so they wrote the script and then they casted it. The thing is that the Major is a robot, and even the original director of the 95 film said like, hey, the Major is a robot. You can adapt her any way that you want her to look. It doesn't have to be Japanese. Even Japanese fans even thought that, hey, Scarlett Johansson was an amazing choice because it's different from what the anime is. It would pop out more. When you come across an adaptation or a remake or a reboot or anything like that, you have to ask, okay, what else are you going to give me with this movie? Why is this movie being made? And why should I care about it so much? I think with this movie, they do fill out those questions very well. They give you what the source material is, but they do try to build it up a little bit more. Even though they don't fully excel on it or giving it like a bigger picture or better questions, because we've seen this story a few times where what does it mean to be human with characters who are robots but have humanistic features. I think they could have done a lot more with that, but they had to simplify it for an American audience to where they can actually relate to the story that they've seen before. If you want to get very complex into the Ghost in the Shell background, please revisit the 1995 anime film. It'll absolutely blow your mind. And with the 95 anime film, is that is a movie that you cannot half watch. That is a movie that you have to really just turn off your phone, don't talk to anybody, and just watch that movie. The movie is not even an hour and a half long. Take your time, watch that movie, really follow the movie. I think you'll even appreciate this movie a lot more, and vice versa. Then with Kosei, the main villain of the movie that you're introduced to, the thing that makes a great villain in a movie is if they're sympathetic. And I did feel that towards Kosei in this movie, because there is a moment when the Major and Kosei finally do meet and where he gives an amazing monologue about what has happened to him, and you completely understand why he's upset. You completely understand what he's doing. And that to me what makes a great villain in a movie. I don't want to spoil it for you, but you get kind of like a double turn. Like you think somebody's a bad guy, but they end up being a good guy, and vice versa. So I think that's something that people will really appreciate. And then with the characters, I think the Major and Bato are very fleshed out. The thing with the Major is her big conflict is she really wants to figure out who she was before she was the Major. She is given a brain by somebody else that's put into her robot form. Every once in a while she gets these images of her past. What she wants to do is figure out who she was before what she is now. And the movie does kind of veer off into a different type of story to where she does have this kind of detective feel of who is she, and she just wants to figure out who she was. And I think that's what the anime really didn't have, is you didn't get too much of characteristics from the Major. In the 95 film, she was very much just kind of a robot character, and she was just the one that's questioning these things, but didn't really go in to figure out who she was before she was the Major, before she was part of this task force. And with Bato, he's a very likable character. What I will say about Bato is he's very true to what he was in the anime. Then in the trailer, it's not really a spoiler. In some of the scenes, you do see that he has regular eyes, and then he has his tech eyes. And in other scenes, you'll figure out how he got those, and it completely makes sense. And I like how they did that, so they were able to flesh that out a little bit more. And just with Scarlett Johansson playing the Major, I think she did an amazing job. Even though she is a robot character, she was able to portray some really good emotions to where you really did kind of care about her and her character and her search for who she is. There's a little bit nitpicking, like every once in a while she does have a little bit too much of kind of the robotic movements to where it just kind of looks a little, over the top, and some other times, she just seems very fluent. But, I've never played a robot before, so I can't really critique her that much for it, and so neither can you. The big critique about the movie is that it could have stayed a little bit more truer to the story and also make it even deeper. What I think they did is that they just really simplified it. So that's what kind of dropped the grade for me. But everything else in the movie I thought was absolutely awesome. I thought Scarlett Johansson was really good. I thought the visuals were amazing. The score was awesome. And to talk about the score again is that I knew that the score eventually does come up in the film, and it comes over the end credits, and my buddy's like, okay, so are you like one of those people that stay for the entire credits? I'm like, no, I just enjoy the song, and I knew it was going to be playing during the credits, so I just want to sit and listen to it for a while. So yeah, the score was awesome. They were able to flesh out the characters a little bit more, even though they really didn't flesh out the story a lot. I did appreciate that. And that also gave you some moments in the anime that you just would want to see in the live adaptation of it, because there was images in my head that were like, okay, if I see this in the movie, I'm gonna freak out. And they did do some shot for shot reimaginings of what was in the anime film, and I really did appreciate that. So when those moments did happen, I was ecstatic for it. And before I grade this movie, a lot of people that I see review it are people who are not familiar with the source material, not familiar with the manga. Like, I'm not familiar with the manga either, but I'm very familiar with this film. I watched it countless times before going to see it in theaters, and I'm most likely to watch it again shortly after this review. They keep asking, like, if you didn't know anything about the previous film, would you enjoy this movie? And they would all say no, because they always say the pacing is off, there's not enough action, it's just boring, it's a story that we've seen before. But for me as a fan, I did appreciate the directions that they did go, and I did love it. I thought it was great. I can't give it a perfect score, but what I will say is that I will give this movie a B+, because I really did enjoy this movie. Even though it did have some flaws to where it was simplified and dumbed down a little bit, it did give me what I wanted. Even though it was a story that I may have seen before, if it's done in a really good way, then I find it enjoyable. And that's my review for Ghost of the Shell. Like my videos, share it with your friends, subscribe, hit that little bell button on your YouTube account to notify that when my videos do go up. I should hopefully have some more reviews coming up soon. I'll have my WrestleMania 33 reaction video coming up probably Monday afternoon, Monday night. But like as always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later.